All right, so the time has come. It's sort of the end of an era for you. Talk to me, get me started sort of in your background, your education, how you got to this point in your career.
Well, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to go into coaching while I was in high school. And my high school basketball coach talked me out of it. He said, you know, you're only going to coach about 15 years, and then you're going to go into administration. He said, that's the way you do it. That's the only way you're going to make any money. And so I thought, well, you know, he knows, and I trust him. So I said, all right, so I go to Auburn, start off in accounting. That didn't last very long. Finally, I got a degree in marketing, and my family owned a local business, and went back and went to work for my dad after I graduated. Managed a store for about 2 years. We sold a business. I never got coaching out of my blood. That whole time I was doing that, I was coaching youth league football, youth league baseball, doing all that. I did it as I was finishing high school. I'd finish baseball practice or baseball game and go down and coach a little league baseball team. And it just never got out of my blood. I always wanted to do it. And I found out, I thought, well, hey, perfect opportunity. A friend of mine visited one night, and I said, that's what I'm going to do. I got enough money saved. I'm going to go back to school. So I go back to school, get my education degree, volunteered for 2 years at my high school, and I worked junior high football the first year, and then the next year I was a varsity assistant and head basketball coach and head JV basketball coach, JV and varsity as a volunteer. And then got hired next year, and I was there 6 more years. Then left there, went to Atlanta right after we got married, went to Atlanta for 4 years, coached there, left there, came back to Alabama at Smith Station High School for 2, and then found out this job was available when Mike Ward was the coach here, and he was going full-time administration. And a friend of mine called me, and he talked to Coach River and said, hey, I know somebody that's got a science degree, and and he's a defensive guy, and he's a weight room guy. Are you interested in talking to him? So Coach said, yeah. So I called and started the interview process. Same time I was bouncing around trying to find a head job. To be honest with you, it was something that prayed about, and then it just, my wife was 7 months pregnant with our daughter Mara, and we decided this is where we're coming, and so came here, been here ever since then. And like a lot of those guys came up here an assistant. I didn't intend on this to be my last stop, and I thought Coach Rivers would be here forever. And after 2 years after he left and went to Athens, and 2 weeks before the season got started with practice, and I was fortunate enough to stumble into this job, and been here for 27 years.
Talk to me about some of the highlights of your time as coaching and teaching and just interacting with your players and students.
You always, the wins are in the great years and great teams are highlights. I mean, they really are. And it's because there's so many things that happen with great teams. Usually great teams have great team chemistry, and there's always some success and failure stories that make it even more special. Roanoke, Alabama, my hometown, coached there for 8 years after having a not so wonderful seasons as a high school player in football. I was a 3-sport athlete, and we did well in baseball and basketball, but not in football. But having coached football there and doing well there, that was, went to semifinals one year, playoffs, I think, out of the 8 years there, I think we went to playoffs. Back then, only the top team went most of that time that I was there. And I think we'd made the playoffs 4 or 5 years out of 8. All those years, there was a real, like 1983 was a great year with great kids. 83, 84, 85, great memories, great friendships with those former players. That was big. Going to Atlanta, probably the first year I was there, I still have relationships with those guys, probably more than any other group. New kid on the block for them, and they thought they were going to break me in, and I think they got a little surprise from an old boy from Alabama. Uh, and it didn't take them long to realize there was a new sheriff in town. And but those guys, we're still close today. We still communicate, talk. They come see me. They're doing well, and it's great to hear from them. Smith Station was a good change for us. Needed that change. And, playoff 1 year down there. But coming up here, the Coach Rivers last year was pretty big. We went 9-2 that year. That was a good transition year before we were 2-8. And then, as I got going here, we had a good run, late 90s, early 2000, real good run. Some really good teams along the way. Had a good team in 99 and 2000, really good team. But, all those guys together, and then 2004, 5, really good team along that time, 2003, 4, and 5. There was a guy named Gerard Powers that played in that group, and he was a special player. One of those guys, when you're busy coaching, I don't think you enjoy how special a guy like him was. I mean, we had a secondary back there with Gerard Powers, Sam Bernthal, who signed with Alabama, Gerard signed with Auburn, and Trent Dean. And Trent was a quarterback and a safety, and he walked on at Alabama. And we had those three guys plus another guy in the secondary. But with those three guys, there's a lot of things you could do. And they were great players. And then, up front in front of them, we had this guy named Rolando McClain that played outside linebacker as a sophomore in 2004. And, we knew he was going to be good. We didn't know how good that guy was going to be. But seeing those kind of guys on the field, that's special. 2017, we weren't expected to do very much, go 11-2 as my son's senior year. That group of kids right there probably had the best team chemistry I've ever been around in my life on that 2007 team, and they're still close today from the 10th grade through the 12th grade. They're still close. That was special. And then as we transcended on the next few years, kind of hit some downturns in there. But this year, the 2016 team was a special team. 2018 team going down and upsetting Jackson Olin, who was undefeated, ranked 4th in the state, first round of playoffs and in the Mud Bowl. That was huge. This year, one of the highlights definitely of my career, because we saw a group of kids overcome so much through their career. They fought through COVID. They fought through 2-8 seasons. They started off their junior year, things not going so good, but they were so dialed in. They continued to improve and continued to hinge on every word we said. And to see kids like that come through this year and have the year they have, that makes it a really special group. So, there's a lot of special people that I've had an opportunity to coach with and to coach. And it's every time you start thinking about it, there's one more that you think, and then you think about this, then you think about that. But, I'd say, there's been 5 or 6 teams that just really jump out at me. But there's been a tremendous amount of relationships with these coaches and kids that will just never go away.
What drives you as a head football coach? What really just makes you love the game?
I'm always I've loved the game. I've loved how the game fits. I've loved always trying to figure out, how can we gain 4 yards right here? How can we stop this? How are you going to cover this? If they do this, how are you going to do that? What's the check and the checkmate to everything? And the game itself, as far as competition, a lot of fun. The energy level that's involved is fun. I like it. I like the strategy, the planning. I really thrive. And as a head coach, coaching a position is great. I love that. But we got such great position coaches now. I really don't have to worry about that anymore. And I thrive more on planning and organization. And like right now, I'm lost as a goose now. I'm just telling you. I don't know. I go home at night and I don't know what to do, because I'm not sitting down. And normally I sit down when I go home, and as soon as the season's over, I take about a week off mentally, and then I start watching film, I start planning, I start studying something different, I start looking at speed programs and weight programs and see if there's something we can tweak. I start looking at, data on what we did here and what we didn't do and how we want to get to this. And I start studying things. I start calling people. I start asking questions. And, it's nothing for me to spend, honestly, 4 hours a night working on football after football's over. After, people go to bed at my house, like from 8 till, nothing, unless we're sitting down. If I happen to come in and I'm eating by myself, there's a laptop in front of me and I'm watching or listening to somebody. And that's what I'm used to doing, and it's nonstop. And now I'm like, okay, I guess I'll get back to my hunting and fishing shows. So I'm, working on my turkey calling and trying to figure out what lure to throw right now.
I was going to say, you're transitioning out of, you had a great season of football, and now you're transitioning into a different season of life for you. What are you going to do to replace this love and passion that you have for football with something else now that you're retired? You get a chance to relax now, I guess.
I don't know. I'm lost. I'm serious. I've been doing this for 43 years. Love it. Love the relationships with players, coaches. We just finished our Alabama Football Coaches Association's 18th convention. I've been on that board since 2005. I was not one of the original members, but I was on there pretty quickly after, because of a couple of job transitions people had. So I was on one of the early boards, and I've been on there ever since. Walking away from those guys is really hard. I mean, coaching is a fraternity, and it's a bunch of guys that we all, the guys, I got tickled. My brother and my mom were there, and my wife, and we're all talking. They said, it's obvious that y'all all have such a great relationship with each other, how you talk, how you visit, how you share with each other about things, and how you care about each other. And, that's that, and these kids, it's just going to be really strange. I'm really kind of glad I've done this during Christmas, because it's given me some time away that has kind of hopefully helped me lead into kind of withdrawing from this process somewhat. But it's tough. I'm gonna stay busy. I'm gonna go to work for someone doing something, and I've got some discussions going on right now with some people. I'm not going to prop my feet up. I don't play golf. Golf's a great game. I'm no good at it, and I'd rather try to hunt and fish, and because not many people can tell how bad I am at that. See, I can go do that by myself. Golf I couldn't do by myself. But I'm gonna find something to do, because I'm not tired of working. I'm not through working. I'm really interested in trying to find something where I have to change gears mentally, and try to do something different for a change. Just energize. Change is good. It energizes you, and I've still got enough energy. I want to do something, and do something well. And that'll be a new challenge.
You're going out on top. You had a great season. You couldn't ask for a better group of football players. I watched you interact with them on the field, and you seem like family. You're going out on top. What does that make you feel like as a coach, because you had such a good, strong year?
Ideally, that's what you'd love to do. I mean, it is. My son and I talked about it about mid-season. I knew going into this year that this was it. I knew it, and not very many people knew it. I discussed it with my wife. She still wasn't sure if I was going to do it even after I'd done it. But, I went and talked to my son during the middle of the season. I said, okay, you knew it was coming. So I said, this is what I'm going to do, and I just want you to be aware of it. And I said, we're not going to share it with the staff or anybody right now. It's just minding your business. And he said, Dad, you deserve this. And which I was like, I don't take those words lightly. He said, but you got a team that you love, you got a coaching staff you love, you're having one of the best times of your life. Go out with a good taste in your mouth. Don't sit around and look at one day and things aren't going so good, and you think, man, I wish I'd done this last year, 2 years ago, 3 years. Wish I'd have gone ahead and got out then. And you know, going out when you've had such a good year, there's such good memories. And yeah, there's some do-overs I'd love to have. I can write those down for you right now through this season. But you know, I'm grateful, truly grateful that I get to go out with a year like we've gone out, and awards and recognition that we've received. That's special, and I'm very appreciative of that. But and like I said, going out with something that you love to do so much, and I've talked to some friends of mine that didn't have that opportunity, and they said, man, be grateful. That's the thing I wish I'd had that you've got right now.
What is your hope for the next head football coach for Decatur High School? What is your hope and your overall feeling of someone new coming in and replacing you, but what do you hope that they bring with them?
Well, you know, that's one thing too. You know, there's a time when you got to realize that it's time to step away and let somebody else take on some new challenges. And there's challenges. I mean, I'm honest with you. I hate saying this, but this is not the same place it was 10 years ago. You know, we athletically, we're not as deep athletically as we were 10 years ago. You know, we have some spurts and we have some spells that we got a good group in here. But used to, you know, you could kind of turn the page and it was the next group in, and that was good. But the next guy, I really hope will do the same thing I've tried to do, and I tried to embrace the past and not live in it, but embrace it. And that was really, it was really kind of impressed upon me by Coach Rivers. Coach Rivers always talked about Coach Webb and things that Coach Webb did and the way Coach Webb thought and said about things. And then Coach Rivers had played for Coach Calvin. And then, so, you know, those type things. So, you know, Coach Rivers talked a lot about Coach Ogle and Coach Webb. And then Coach Thompson's right in there. You know, he played for Coach Ogle, and he took over at a time when the schools split up and they started Austin High School. So he had a very tough time. And so the five of us that have been here, I mean, and I say this a lot when I get interviewed, when you walk in and look at those plaques right there and those four men that are there, high quality, high character men that were doggone good coaches, and they all have a common thread is how they've done things around here. And I've tried to do a lot of the same things. We laughed. Coach Ogle had 26 rules. I still have them in there. And team rules. Now, I don't write out team rules. We got basic ones. But when I read them to the players, they laugh. And they're like, Coach, this kind of sounds like what we do now. And yeah, it does, doesn't it? You know, I just hope the next guy will embrace the history of this place. It has a great history, great tradition. There's great people that have played here. There's a lot of honor in the guys that have played here, and it means a lot to them. You know, we've always kind of tried to pride ourselves on being hard-nosed, blue-collar football team, and doing it right, and playing hard and being physical. And I hope the next guy, that's what he wants to bring to it. There's always been a strong thread of a spiritual core here with this program. You know, in this day and time, I think it's even more important that we do that. And I hope he brings that same spiritual philosophy in here that we've embraced since I've been here. It's been here. And so I hope that happens. And I'm just I look forward to the next guy just really, you know, bringing a little different level of excitement and you know, adding his own flavor to whatever it may be that's going to be him.
Will you be back? Will you come and watch any games as a retirement?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll be back. If my son's coaching here, I'll be here. If he's not, I'll be watching, you know, him somewhere else. But I'll come. You know, I mean, this is my school. I love it. I mean, you know, I've been here 29 years, and that's pretty special to me that they put up with me that long here.
So today is January 30th. Is today your official last day?
No, tomorrow is the 31st.
Well, what is it going to be like for you tomorrow? You hit your last day with Decatur City Schools.
I don't know. I tell you, Elizabeth, it's this is hard. It really is. This place has been so good to me and my family, and I have so many wonderful memories about this place and so many wonderful relationships. And I have a strong passion for Decatur High School. This place is it's wonderful to me, and it's not perfect. It's got its own glitches and flaws and bumps and warts. It's got them all, but I love it. I love what it stands for. I love the toughness about this place. I love the resilience about it. I love, the spirit that's embodied by the people that really want to bite in and take a chunk out of it and say, we're going to be what Decatur High School is about. And I pity those poor souls that don't, because, they're missing out on something great here. And, the guys that I've met that came way before me as far as, players, they still have that same emotion about this place. It still means a lot to them. That speaks volumes about them buying in. And when you're in a community of people like that, you don't want to leave it. You don't want to leave it. It's a friendly sea, and you want to be a part of it, and you want to be in the middle of it. And so, this is when I walk out of here, I kind of think I'm going to just kind of walk out like it's another day and not think about it. I think the hardest thing I thought about was dropping those keys and giving them to somebody else. I've struggled with that. It's just, I don't know. It's, everybody asks me a lot of questions about it, and I have shed a ton of tears over this whole issue. I just don't know how I'm gonna handle it. I got a feeling there'll be some moments behind the oak tree in the backyard where I go back here, where I do my own little moments where I kind of have my little go to pieces party that not very many people see. I got a feeling there'll be a lot of those, and it just hits you. It was weird. I listen to music a lot, and I really like songs that have lyrics that I can understand, and so I'm listening to some stuff the other day, and I'm loading my truck up, and I'm not paying attention. What I'm listening to is just a genre of songs that I'm listening to, and I'm loading the truck up with all the stuff I'm cleaning out of the office, and I put the last box in, and Kenny Chesney song comes on, Don't Blink. And nobody was here, and thank God they weren't, because I went and dug my head in the seat of my truck and cried like a little child that had, just had his bike stolen or something. And it hit me as I listened to the words of those songs, how quickly it all happens. And, I can honestly say, would I like to have some do-overs? You doggone right I would. I can't say that, hey, I wouldn't change a thing about it. Yeah, I'd change some things. I'd change a lot of things. But I know that I poured every ounce into this place, and I know I've given it everything that I had, and I know that we did things right. We did things, sometimes the kids might not have understood we were doing it for the betterment of the program, but we did, and we set a standard that we wanted them to elevate themselves to. And like this year, I thought was a culmination of kids really elevating themselves to a standard that we tried to set and get back to. And what we saw as they began to raise that standard and reach for that standard, we saw some kids that didn't want to reach as hard and as far, and they kind of sifted away. And so, You know, we've always tried to maintain that standard. We've always reached for it, and we did that, you know, unapologetically, and so I'm happy for that. It's just, you know, it's hard to think it's over. It really is, but I realize it is. I do realize it, but I'll have my moments, you know. There's a little bit of freedom, I'll have to say, that I hadn't had to worry about fundraising for the last 6 weeks, and that's kind of been a little freedom right there or something. Even though I've been hit up by every fundraiser, I said, you're going to have to talk to the next head coach.